Hey, what's up, guys? So we're back with more reaction videos, and if you're new channel, welcome. We're gonna be trying out a new channel today. So this was recommended to me by one of my subscribers and viewers. He reached out and said, "You gotta check this video out." Basically, it is another history channel because this is from my oversimplified videos. Basically, it's called Simple History. So shout out and credit goes to Simple History for this video. And he said the person is named Roy Benavides, and the title is called The Green Beret, who went on a one-man rampage to save his comrades. And all he said was, "You gotta check this channel out because if you like oversimplified, then this will also be another like channel for you." And also, I did say I love history videos, so I'll look into it. He did say one more thing. He said this was I think during Vietnam. But that's pretty much it. And as for Roy Benavides, I don't know who that is personally. So this is going to be a new person I'm learning. So without anything else, let's jump right into it. Oh, he's got the Medal of Honor.
The Green Beret, who went on a one-man rampage.
Tango
Roy
Mike.
Benavides, the Vietnam War. Roy Benavides' life had been rough as a child. Both his parents had died. He was bullied by his classmates because of his mixed Yaqui Indian and Mexican heritage and had to leave school in 8th grade to help his family.
I'm really sorry, guys. I had a work message that came in. I had to see it. Sorry, bad timing.
Child. Both his parents had died. He was bullied by his classmates because of his mixed Yaqui Indian and Mexican heritage.
Oh, come
and had
on.
to leave school in 8th grade to help his family. At the age of 19, Benavides joined the Army, serving in the Korean War in the Texas Army National Guard. He married Hilaria Lala Coy Benavides.
Oh, but I really like the animation, but I mean, this is only 30 seconds, but that was a lot of information. So he's an orphan, unfortunately lost both his parents, bullied in school because of his ethnicity. Dude, that is messed up. I mean, if you guys saw my oversimplified Napoleonic Wars, you guys would have heard the story of like, the two fights I got into not high school. God, I keep on saying high school, middle school, because I got bullied by like this guy, by like one guy who kept on bullying me because I'm Asian, and the other guy because he thought I was tough after I won that fight against the bully. But dude, bullying is not okay. And so he did not finish school, but he did join the army. And he already has experience in fighting a war, which is the Korean War.
In the Texas Army National Guard. He married Hilaria Lala Coy Benavides in 1959 and completed airborne training, becoming assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. In 1966, Sergeant Roy Benavides was in hospital after stepping on a landmine. Doctors said he would never walk again. He had been sent to Vietnam in 1965 as an advisor for the ARVN troops there. Benavides was carrying out a classified operation alone to gather evidence that the North Vietnamese troops were posing as Viet Cong. While he was on patrol along a narrow trail disguised as a Viet Cong guerrilla, he stepped on a landmine.
Oh,
Sometime later, a squad of Marines came across Benavides. They initially thought it was a booby trap, but were surprised when they flipped him over and discovered the man in Viet Cong pajamas was Hispanic and wearing U.S. Army dog tags. He was soon evacuated to the hospital. In hospital in the U.S. 2 months later, Benavides had recovered and awoke. His memories came back to him. The doctor told him he would never walk again. His spine had been damaged, and his brain had rattled in his skull. Nevertheless, Benavides, sitting in his wheelchair, begged the doctors not to discharge him from the Army. The Army was his life. Determined, Benavides got up from his bed night after night, dragging himself to the wall and putting weight on his legs.
Wow.
For weeks, he pushed through the pain, going further in distance than before, which surprised the doctors. 6 months later, with his wife Lala's support, Roy Benavides walked out of the hospital.
Wow. Dude, that is amazing. So he stepped on a landmine, he got some serious wounds. Doctor told him he would never walk out again, and yet he said, nope, not happening. And he literally pushed himself up to the point that 6 months later, he managed to walk out of that hospital. Dude, that's just already shows his determination and character already, because that is amazing alone.
He was promised only a desk job at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but determined and exercising every day, he trained vigorously and qualified for the Special Forces, also known as the Green Berets. He would be assigned to Detachment B-56, 5th Special Forces Group Airborne, 1st Special Forces.
So this guy literally said, screw it, I'm not gonna, you're not gonna walk again? Oh yeah? Test me. And he managed to get on his feet and walk again. And not only that, they said, all right, we're gonna just park you behind a desk. And he said, nope, I still got a lot left in me, and managed to get into the Green Berets. Wow, dude, I mean, dude, this guy is a beast. 6 hours in hell.
6 hours in hell. Now it was 1968. Staff Sergeant Roy Benavidez, now with the code name Tango Mike Mike, was back in Vietnam and was off duty attending church, but his mind was fixed on the panicking radio chatter from the front lines. In Loc Ninh, Vietnam, near the Cambodian border, a 12-man Special Forces reconnaissance team, which included his close friends, Sergeant First Class Leroy Wright, Staff Sergeant Lloyd Frenchie Mousseau, Specialist 4 Brian O'Connor, and 9 Montagnard tribesmen who were part of the Civilian Irregular Defense Group program, or CIDG, were surrounded by a battalion numbering 1,000 battle-hardened North Vietnamese soldiers.
Damn.
Everyone in the unit had been wounded or killed in earlier fighting, and 3 of the helicopters sent to rescue them had been unable to extract them due to heavy enemy fire. When the helicopters returned, they were riddled with bullets. One of them, the door gunner, Michael Craig, aged 19, had been hit several times and died in Benavidez's arms. There was no way Benavidez was going to leave his friends out in the jungle. Benavidez jumped onto a returning helicopter that was going back in, volunteering so quickly that he didn't have time to get his M16, so was only armed with a Bowie knife and medical supplies. Benavidez described it as going into autopilot. As he was approaching the extraction zone, Benavidez realized his fellow team members were too severely wounded to run the distance to the helicopter. There was so much enemy gunfire that the pilot, Larry McKibben, had to zigzag in an attempt to dodge it, but was nevertheless able to provide covering fire. Benavidez jumped out with a medical bag, ran through the jungle to the wounded men under heavy enemy fire, taking a shot to the leg, which he initially thought was a thorn bush. He found Mousseau first.
I mean, with all that adrenaline, sometimes it won't even feel like a bullet wound until you start like calming down, and then you'll probably feel the pain. I mean, I've heard that from like several combat veterans. They said like, dude, I just felt the impact, but I didn't feel the pain because of the adrenaline, because my mind is just like on like all over the place. But then when they said that they start like calming down and slowing down, then they could actually feel and go, okay, now that hurts.
Against a tree whose eyeball had been shot out and was hanging down his cheek.
Damn.
He was determined to keep shooting back. The CIDG were in a pool of blood and patched up as best they could. Benavidez dragged everyone into a defensible position to direct their fire at the enemy and provided morphine to the wounded. He then saw O'Connor and an interpreter CIDG who he motioned to move over to him, but the gunfire started again and they took cover. Another round then hit Benavidez in his thigh. On adrenaline, he popped the green smoke for McKibben in the rescue helicopter to pick them up. While everyone who could move got into the chopper, he suppressed the tree line with an AK-47 he had picked up to cover O'Connor and the interpreter who crawled towards the helicopter.
Nice.
Now Benavidez was looking for the team leader, Sergeant First Class Leroy Wright, who had been killed and who also had intel on him that could not get into enemy hands. Benavidez found his body and proceeded to drag him to the chopper when he was shot again, this time in the stomach, and hit in the back by shrapnel from a nearby grenade, knocking him out.
My God, shot twice and shot 3 times.
His dead friend's body. Disaster had also struck. The chopper had crashed to the ground from enemy fire. The pilot, McKibben, was dead. 5 of the men on board, including Mousseau, survived the crash, as did O'Connor and the interpreter who didn't get into the helicopter. Benavidez pulled them out of the wreckage, dispensed morphine, set up a perimeter around the crash site, and called in heavy air support from the F-100s above.
So he's been shot 3 times, got hit in the back by a grenade, and yet he's still dragging his buddies, still administering aid, and still fighting back. And on top of that, he already received a spinal injury from a landmine, and he got into... Dude, this guy's he's got literally an iron will.
Dropped napalm on the enemy position. When the jets ran out of fuel and had to leave, the enemy machine gun fire started again. Benavidez gave O'Connor a third shot of morphine and took another bullet to the leg. Their
Fourth
position
time.
was surrounded by North Vietnamese soldiers. It looked hopeless. But a helicopter finally came to their rescue. Benavidez and the rescue team carried and dragged the wounded men onto the chopper, but the landing zone was still being fired upon by NVA troops, to the extent that 2 men were shot in the back as they crawled to it. Shrapnel wounds to his face from earlier caused Benavidez's vision to be blurred from the blood in his eyes. When he went to get Mousseau, an NVA soldier butted his rifle into Benavidez's head and jaw and slashed his arm with his bayonet.
Oh no, he's
He
that
shouted
close.
to O'Connor to shoot, but he was too drugged from morphine to react. Benavidez pulled out his Bowie knife and stabbed the NVA soldier till he was dead. He
Nice.
then dragged Mousseau to the helicopter and killed 2 more NVA with an AK-47 who were out of the helicopter's side gunner's arc of fire. And then he made one more trip to get the interpreter and destroy any classified material, with blood still obscuring his vision. Only then did he allow the others to pull him onto the helicopter, the last
He
man
allowed.
to leave the battlefield. At this point, the round that had hit his stomach had exposed his intestines, which he was trying to
Ooh.
hold in with his hands. The helicopter, badly shot up and with no instruments left, managed to take off.
Bro, that is crazy. I mean, shot him so many times, and yet he did not care about himself. He cared about others, and he was the last to leave the battlefield.
When they landed, the wounded were unloaded and examined one by one. It had turned out that Benavidez had even loaded 3 dead enemy soldiers into the helicopter in case they had classified materials. They were left to the side, as was
Damn.
Benavidez. He couldn't move or speak because of the broken jaw from the rifle butt. The blood over his eyes had glued them shut, and with 37 bayonet, bullet, and shrapnel wounds all over his body,
Wait,
he
I
had
gotta hear
glued
that.
them shut. And with 37 bayonet, bullet, and shrapnel wounds all
37. Dude, I thought I misheard. I heard that number wrong. 37.
over his body, he looked dead. Medics started placing him in a body bag and started zipping him up when a friend noticed him and said, "That's Roy Benavidez." The doctor said there was nothing that could be done, but Benavidez mustered his last bit of energy and spat in the doctor's face, causing the doctor to say, "I think he'll make it." He was flown to Japan for intensive surgery, then Brooke Army Medical Center, Fort Sam Houston, where he stayed for almost a year. Roy Benavidez had survived 6 hours in hell and saved 8 lives. Benavidez's commander had put him in for the Distinguished Service Cross because the process for awarding a Medal of Honor would take much longer, and he was unsure if Benavidez would live or die before he could have received it. Finally, on February 24th, 1981,
Hey,
President
February
Ronald
24th.
Reagan would present Roy Benavidez
That's my birthday.
the Medal of Honor. Reagan said, if the story of his heroism were a movie script, you would not believe it. Benavidez said of his actions, "The real heroes are the ones who gave their lives for their country. I don't like to be called a hero. I just did what I was trained to do."
Wow,
Master
he's really
Sergeant
modest
Roy
too.
Benavidez died on November 29th, 1998, at the age of 63.
Man, I was born in 1998. 63, dude. That's young.
Subscribe for more Vietnam War history videos.
Wait,
Channel
that looks.
and help us create more epic content. Consider becoming a member on our channel.
He's got like almost
Becoming
5
a
million,
member
a
means
little
that
over
for just
5 million
$5 a
subscribers
month,
now.
Comment section and in live chat. As a member, you'll become an influencer with member-only comments. You can communicate directly with us and help us pick the topics that we'll do next on Simple History. And remember, it's not mandatory to become a member. Our videos will continue to be uploaded as usual. Thank you for letting us feed your hunger for history.
I can only say one thing about this guy. This man is a legend. I mean, dude, he's got balls of steel. I mean, the fact that he went from the fact he stepped on the landmine and still managed to get back on his feet, let alone get back on his feet, is a challenge. But he then went and became special forces, is also amazing. And on top of that, he received so many wounds and bullets, knives, and I mean, like a bayonet, jaw broken, and eyes were blurry from blood and all that. And yet his mind was still on his teammates, still selfless, and still making sure they would survive instead of him. I mean, dude, his story is just like one of courage, commitment, and it is amazing. But actually, now I think about it, I'm not really surprised he died young, because usually, you know, like the wounds and like the injuries that you sustain at such a early, at a young age, you know, like in your teens or 20s or things like that, you'll probably go, oh yeah, my body healed up. But usually when you get to like a old age, then it will like come back at you kind of like a phantom pain, and it will like haunt you again. So I think that's what happened, because, you know, his brain rattled and his jaw broken and testes coming out. He may have like recovered and survived then, but at when he started getting to a certain age, then it probably came back, and that's probably what affected his health. But either way, he made the ultimate sacrifice, and that Medal of Honor, well earned, well deserved. So besides that, this was a really great video. I really enjoyed it. So again, shout out and credit goes to Simple History for doing an amazing job. I mean, this is an amazing character to learn. And there is actually one other video. It just recommended to me up next, and I have to look into it because this is something my dad told me about. The Korean soldiers in the Vietnam War. That is, I say that is a part of history that needs to be told as well. So besides that, that's all I got for today. If there's anything else you guys want me to check out, please put in the comments below. I almost said videos below, comments below. But besides that, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that notification bell so you know when I drop more videos. Also, shout out to all my members, subscribers, viewers. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. So with anything else, see you guys next time.